Okay, it's time to kick off this webinar distributed to you from Gothenburg on the Swedish west coast. And my name is Ola Stensby, represent Lindholmen Science Park, and I will act as the moderator and somewhat technician for this session then. A small introduction to this webinar we call Possibilities for Modern City Logistics Using E-Mobility. With me here in the conference room today, acting as a studio, I have Mrs. Michelle Colry. She's representing Urban Transport Administration at the City of Gothenburg. And I have Mr. Johan Erlandsson, who is the co-founder and CEO of Wieland Bikes and co-founder of Plink Transport. And together we will try to give you some kind of picture of what happens in Gothenburg region, in Sweden, and in general in this area. We will not talk that much about technologies and emissions and small particles and amps and volts and everything. So we will lift off in a helicopter, having a more broad view on this whole area and look into the possibilities that e-mobility and different kind of vehicles have forming the future smart city and a friendly smart city that is as well. So what is very clear to me, that representing in many ways an amateur in this area, is that we are facing a very, very interesting future where, for instance, vehicles will be forced into a huge diversity of different kind of vehicles to fulfill the requirements that we have in the society. Everything from transport effectiveness to pollution levels and so on. And we will look into this during this webinar and talk a lot about those maybe rather small vehicles, but that are important for the last mile distribution into the city cores and everything. So we will start listening to Mrs. Colry with some experiences from a couple of projects and also the opportunity implications for the planning of the future smart city. And after that, we will listen to Johan about e-mobility vehicles for smart city logistics and the development of them in the future. And we will end this session also with a Q&A session, of course. So that's basically what I would like to say as an introduction to this webinar. And I will try to change the slide set to show Michelle's slides instead. Okay, Michelle, please.
Okay.
So also if you could give a short introduction of yourself.
Okay, yes. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Michelle Colry and I work at the Urban Transport Administration in the City of Gothenburg. My role is a project coordinator where I work with a lot of EU and international projects. My role in BSR-electric, I was involved from the very beginning and contributed to the city's part in writing the application. Today I'll talk about goods or the freight distribution for a vibrant city. So I'll focus my presentation on why the City of Gothenburg is working with low emission clean vehicles for the last mile distribution of freight in the city centre. And then also a few examples, an example from an EU project of a log, and then also a little bit about what some future initiatives. An introduction to Gothenburg. Gothenburg is on the west coast of Sweden, the second largest city in Sweden. We are hoping to have the transformation from a large town to a green and dense small city, a sustainable city which is open to the world. We have approximately 530,000 residents in the city of Gothenburg, although in the greater area of Gothenburg, which is consists of 13 municipalities, there's about 1.1 million people. As with most cities around the world, Gothenburg is growing and we're trying to make it a very attractive city to live, to work and to enjoy. And to do this, we also need to accommodate for the future and what the changes will bring. So we're looking at, by the year 2035, there'll be at least 150,000 more people living in the city of Gothenburg. So the city of Gothenburg is undergoing many changes. We're building new houses, new residential areas, new city districts that are emerging from land previously used for industrial purposes. We're building new roads, bridges, cycle paths. We're expanding our public transport to make it easier to get around in the city and to the city. We're looking at building a cable car to bring the two parts of the city together, as we have a river running through the city. So we're putting a lot of rapid growth for the city is putting a very high demand on the transport system and also on the delivery of the goods into and out of the city. We are also, the city of Gothenburg, or Gothenburg is also the logistics hub of Scandinavia. So we are a huge port and we are the biggest in Scandinavia. And then we also have a long tradition of working with different measures in the field of city logistics, which I'll be talking about. We have a transport strategy that we work towards, and we have three main objectives in our transport strategy. One of them is travel, to make it an easy access to essential locations in the city and out of the city, regardless of the mode of travel. The other objective is the urban space, to have an attractive setting where people want to live, want to work, go shopping, study, meet, so a livable, vibrant city. And then the third objective is the transport of freight and how we can contribute to strengthen Gothenburg as a logistics centre of the north, and where new businesses can establish and existing businesses can flourish with generating new jobs. As you can see, the pictures on the two photos on this slide show, firstly, that the top photo was perhaps 10 years ago, before we started introducing some measures to decrease the number of deliveries and decrease the number of trucks in the city centre. And then the second photo is a more vibrant city where we have more regulations and people are able to walk around the city freely. A little bit more about the goals for our freight distribution. We're continuously working on the improvement of the freight distribution in the city centre, and our main objectives are to reduce the congestion, to increase the safety for people who are walking and riding their bikes and using other modes of transport, and to make a more attractive urban environment and reduce environmental impact. A more pleasant city. Then we have, of course, the legal framework in the city, and as a municipality, we have the ability to create the legal framework. Our goals is to minimise congestion and environmental impact, to create a safe environment with high accessibility. We're separating the unprotected road users from the heavy traffic by redirecting the goods flows to hours when the streets are less busy. Our goal is also to ensure reliable goods supplies during daytime with clean, energy efficient and safe transport solutions, but also based on the consolidation of goods. And then once again, to create a traffic system which contributes to a pleasant, competitive, safe inner city. Okay, regulations and incentives. We have pedestrian streets in the city where no heavy vehicles are allowed after 11 a.m. We have the time windows on the deliveries between 5 a.m. and 11 a.m. And then we also have a length regulation on the size of the vehicle that is allowed into the city centre. We have walking areas, which means that the vehicles are not allowed to drive any faster than one is able to walk. We have improved the accessibility for distribution vehicles. We have taken away loading bays, so the vehicles are able to stop where they need to stop to improve this accessibility. And then, of course, it reduces the driving distances and times. Okay, smart deliveries. This is a name that we have given to a number of different solutions for sustainable transport. using electric vehicles, so clean vehicles and energy efficient vehicles. We have on the top left Lindholmsleveransen, which is a coordination of distribution of goods and the collection of waste at our campus Lindholmen, which is on Hisingen in Gothenburg. It was established in 2008, and it is the consolidation of goods and waste recycling. So what this is that the goods are delivered to the consolidated centre, and they're delivered into the campus using small electric vehicles. And then the waste and the recycling is then collected at the same time and delivered back to the consolidation centre. And then it is then picked up by the refuse trucks. Thank you. This, of course, creates a very pleasant centre for the people who study, and there's a lot of schools at Lindholmen. We have university campus, we have a couple of high schools, we have big companies, Ericsson, for example. We have Lindholmen Science Park, where we're sitting right now. So these deliveries take place 2 times a day, and it's really the core function is to minimize the traffic in this area. The main customers are the real estate owners and the organizations that are established at Lindholmen. As I mentioned before, it's been running since 2008 and it's fully commercial since 2011. However, at the moment we're doing a relaunch and developing new business models. It's very well established and very appreciated amongst those who work and live in the area. The second to the top right is our Stadsleveransen, and I'll talk about that in more detail in a minute. But then we also have something called Fiskeleveransen, and this was also a delivery of goods, but at this time, in this instance, it was the fresh fish and shellfish, sorry, that is being transported from the harbours or the fish markets into the city. Unfortunately, this is no longer in operation. Ended already in 2017. But this is also a good way of using a unique application of a small electric, specially built vehicle to deliver into the city centre. We have learned quite a lot about. We have learned some lessons as to why this Fiskeleveransen didn't work, and one of the main reasons was that the business model was not viable. The other 2 photos are of cargo bikes. Thank you. And I'm sure Johan is going to talk a lot more about that in a minute. Okay, Stadsleveransen, just a little bit of focus on Stadsleveransen. This is our one of the best examples of our innovative transport solutions in the city of Gothenburg. It is a consolidated for last mile delivery with electric vehicles. We have 4 cars with trailers and 2 electric cargo bikes in use. And what it is, it's a common goods reception for businesses in the inner city. So all the goods are delivered to the consolidated centre, which is just near the train station for the time being. The goods are reloaded onto these smaller vehicles and moved into the city centre for delivery. It's run by Innerstaden, which is a joint company owned by the trade associations of Gothenburg and the real estate owners of Innerstaden. The operator is Paket Logistics, which is a small haulier company. It functions both as a care of address and haulier, so it's PostNord and DHL, and it's financed by the transport companies, advertising and public money, which means that the city of Gothenburg still puts money into Stadsleveransen. Delivers over 800 packages a day, and 600 people are using this service, so the majority of the stakeholders in the area. This is the concept that I've just gone through. The deliveries they're coming in by the trucks and the vans into the consolidated centre. They're reloaded and for distribution to the offices and shops. The area of operation, you can see, if any of you have ever been to Gothenburg, then you might recognise the inner city. So it's up into 3 different areas of operations. A little bit about the development of Stadsövernatur'n over time. It isn't something that we've just been working on in the last couple of years. It's actually since 2012, where we had the first phase, where it was a small number of shops. It was a bit of a pilot, doing some mapping evaluation. The phase 2, we increased the number of shops and to a larger area. We have more goods redirected from hauliers. And then development of the value-adding services. So this also, I should include that it was also a EU project that started in 2012. So we've received EU funding for the different phases. And then phase 3 is a phase we're still in at the moment to fully commercialize the business, and it's being opened up to more businesses and shops in the area. At present, we have this reception still in Gullbergsvass, which is, I said, near the train station, the last mile with the 4 cars and trailers and cargo bikes. And this is, of course, a picture of our Stadsövernatur'n, 2 very happy workers. We have a lot of feedback from the drivers that is a very pleasant work environment in the small electric trucks, and there's with the noise and the better quality of air that they're breathing by driving electric trucks. And also they're all very taken back with how much advertising that the city does, and how much how well known the city is for our Stadsövernatur'n. So these guys come to do their work, and they might be taking 100 Japanese people taking photos of them. So we have a lot of visits that come to Gothenburg to look at our Stadsövernatur'n and to learn more about how it works and the success factors, and also the lessons that we've learned while we've been implementing. Another initiative to just quickly talk about is an initiative that was as part of the Novolog project, and it was a consolidated centre by a care of address for the Nordstan shopping mall. The Nordstan shopping mall is the biggest shopping mall in Sweden, located in the city centre, with over 35 million visitors annually. Most of the deliveries to the shopping mall will go underground in the loading street. We have 200 shops and restaurants, so there's 70,000 square meters of floor space. It's owned by 5 real estate owners, and the city has had a very close cooperation with the real estate owners for the last 10 years regarding traffic and logistics. Have over 500 trucks delivering daily to the shopping mall. But as part of this EU project, we wanted to look at creating a well-functioning, ready-to-run concept for a consolidation by care of address. So it works the same as Stadsövernatur'n. So we have a care of address outside the city centre, and all the goods are delivered to this care of, and then moved into the city centre, to the Nordstan, to the shopping centre, using small electric vehicles. Our part of the project was to see if it was viable, and to see if the ideas that we had were the ideas that we had, that if we were to create a care of address, that we would reduce the number of trucks coming into the city centre. And we collected a lot of data, and we did a lot of we collected a lot of data, and we have a lot of good results. And you can see here that we have this is just the one slide with the results, that we have seen that the amount of goods more goods are being delivered by very few delivery companies. So the amount of small trucks and vehicles that are delivering 1 or 2 packages, perhaps, they made up a huge amount of the deliveries. So our hypothesis is that if we were to consolidate the goods and then bring them into the city in a consolidated form, then we would decrease the vehicle movements by half. So instead of having the 500-600 vehicles coming into the city to deliver to this shopping mall, then we would only have around about 300. So the goal of all this, of course, was to decrease the number of heavy transports in the city centre and to decrease the congestion, the emissions, the noise, to create a more pleasant and attractive inner city. Some of the lessons learned, of course, is that you need to have a good cooperation with the city, the property owners, the businesses, the freight companies, and all other stakeholders. And it also takes time and resources. As I said, we started talking about this 10 years ago, and this EU project made it possible to do a data collection. And now we are doing a pilot in the spring of 2019. The city is supporting the real estate agents, the property owners, so Nordstan in this. So it's not the city who is doing this pilot, is the Nordstan, the businesses, the property owners. And of course, you need a good business model to ensure the success. So hopefully after the summer, we will be able to do we can look at how the pilot went and see what we need to do to be able to implement a fully functioning care of address for the Nordstan shopping centre. Yeah, that was what I just mentioned. And of course, it's one way of using data to drive change and innovation. So it all went from our idea and our hypothesis that if we do something like this, then maybe we can do that to make it better. But then, of course, we need proof. We need some kind of data to be able to show our politicians that if we did something so simple as this, then we could. So it's a snowball effect, and of course we can drive change and innovation using the data that we have. This is also just the extended last mile delivery, how we can once again use consolidated centres and small electric vehicles by bike, cargo bike, electric cars, electric vans. I think Johan will talk more about this later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then another very exciting thing we're looking at is how we can use our waterways to deliver goods, to deliver the freight to the city from up the river. So we have consolidated centres outside of the city, and we can use the river. We had a very successful project called Density, where we tested this to drive to transport the goods on a barge down the river and then collect the recycling and waste to take it back up the river to the incinerators and to the recycling plants. One thing I just want to stress about if all these potential initiatives is the local freight network and how imperative it is to have different stakeholders involved in all the different levels of improvements. So creating new solutions, have good acceptance. So the City of Gothenburg has a very active local freight network made up of very many stakeholders, which of course adds to complexity. That's all I have for today. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at my email address. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're also happy to take questions. A few minutes to take questions on Michelle's speech right now. Are any? We will then continue with Johan's presentation instead. Johan, would you start to give a small introduction of yourself?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Hi everyone. Just a general question first, Ola. Do we have any idea how many are online listening?
That's a really good question.
Would be good to know.
Try to find the information in the interface somewhere. At least I will be able to tell you that after the webinar.
Is there anyone listening?
We're currently about 12 people at least online now.
Okay.
That's what I can say.
Okay,
great.
thank you very much.
Jennifer.
Okay.
Thanks.
So hi all 12 people. I'm Johan Erlandsson. I am the one of the co-founders of Beloved Bikes and currently the CEO. What we offer is a last mile delivery solution for small goods going short distances in city centers. And the data we have on how much of the deliveries you could actually do with these yeah, this size of vehicle is around 20%, and we mainly aim to replace van deliveries with this solution, which is a lot more energy and resource efficient. And it's made up of two parts, you can say. It's the vehicle itself, but then it's the these boxes you see here on the in the photo. These are actually detachable, and this opens up for some new logistics opportunities, which I will explain a little more in detail. So we are kind of answering to a few of megatrends and challenges, which you are all very aware of, I think. The climate challenge, we have people moving into cities. The mayors of cities want their cities to be very livable, shouldn't be a noise and as little traffic as possible. But at the same time, we have an e-commerce, which is absolutely booming, both in volume and also in its changing state, going from the day after delivery to same day delivery, or even delivery within 2 or 1 hour, or the lowest I've heard is under 10 minutes for city of Ankara in Turkey. So, and how do you, these are conflicting trends and challenges. So how do you handle this? So we believe we have a small piece of the puzzle to solve this, and I will just show you a short video. So bicycle, car come back. Lower the volume a bit. So the point of showing this is just to see that this one actually, even if it has high cargo capacity, still fits in a bike infrastructure. It's narrow enough to actually fit on a regular bike lane. It's only 86 centimeters wide. And you can also see the kind of comfort and ergonomy that goes into this one with the suspension. So you can really have this as a professional working tool, full day, every day a week. And yeah, go back to the presentation. Here comes the next video. Here you can see you can buy a car easily. So we have customers now currently in 15 countries with some major logistics companies using our products. And of course, they get a lot of marketing, or you could even call it a little bit of greenwash. At least our customers that so far only bought 1 or 2 vehicles for the marketing. But the ones that are actually scaling up, the reason they do it is because they can get better productivity. They can deliver more parcels or whatever they deliver per hour than with a van. And the most, and this is important because the most costly part of last mile delivery is the salary to the courier. So if this courier can be more efficient, more productive, then the cost per delivery goes down. So this is really the major financial driving force why this is actually happening. Then you of course have all the benefits of low energy consumption and better city livability. But if you're from a true capitalistic perspective, it's this one that's really driving this this change. And our solution has the possibility to maximize on productivity, and this is because it really fits on the bike path, as you just saw on the video. That we focus a lot on the how it handles, that it's fun and nice to ride. We focus a lot on the ergonomics. Sit in a comfortable seat, you have the suspension, it's easy to get in and out. You handle the parcels without having to bend your back too much. We also focus a lot on actually keeping these vehicles running, so they're not standing, they're being broken. And then we also have containerization, which I will, which opens up for some even more productivity. And this is actually something where we want cities to help out, and I will soon explain why. We can just skip this one. It's just a lot of bragging. But if you want to use a small vehicle for last mile delivery, you need to get the goods into the city center somehow, because the sorting terminals for parcels are actually often located 20, 30, 40 kilometers outside the city center. So you can't use a cargo bike to go fetch these parcels. So you need to have a motor vehicle. And this is one solution. One company has tried. This is a photo from Hamburg. So they fill a truck trailer and put the trailer in the middle of the city, and then you have the small vehicles come and pick up. This works. However, you'd need to make a second sorting on the parcels, which take time, and time is money. And you also introduce some risks here with mixing parcels up. You have rain would be a problem in this particular case, and also theft when you have open vehicles in the middle of the street. So what we are suggesting is so if the current illustration, the top illustration here is showing the current way of doing it, that it's actually van-based when you don't do any last mile delivery, specialized last mile delivery vehicle at all. It's the status quo of today that you use a van to first you fill up the van in the terminal outside the city, you drive the van into the city center, and then spend the rest of the day in the city center. So what we suggest instead is that in the terminal you have standardized 1 cubic meter big containers which you preload with parcels, and then you can have a big vehicle instead of a lot of vans. You can have one big vehicle, a big truck, pick up a lot of containers, and you can have the truck hand these containers to city hubs in the city center, and there you have the small vehicles come and pick them up. And the advantage of doing this than what I showed you with the truck trailer is that the handover is done in a minute, and the parcels is secure. It can't be mixed with other goods, and theft risk is very low. And this was one early method we had. We just put 4 of these containers on just a regular car trailer pulled by a van. But today we don't really believe in this concept because it's not really scalable. If you want really to replace a lot of vans, you need to have a lot of containers in, and then we believe that the truck is more higher capacity, is more flexible, and you can mix the goods with pallets and so on to get the delivery costs down. So we have quite a few customers already. It's actually one logo missing here, but you already saw it. So DHL Express is our biggest customer to date, now really rolling this out in a lot of countries. But we also have a number of the other logistics companies now using our products, like DB Schenker and Hermes. Hermes are big on parcels in Germany. And we also have Swiss Post and Deutsche Post in pilot phases, DPD as well, and Bring Norway, which are now really trying this out. And there is also potential to use in other last mile delivery segments, not only parcels, but also in food delivery and in field services. There is a lot of potential in using small vehicles as well. So just a few success stories. So in DHL Express are setting up their own city hubs and doing this handover. So the containers come there by truck, put in the city hubs, and then the cargo bikes come, click the containers on, and off they go to deliver in the city center of this is actually from Tilburg or Groningen in the Netherlands. And yeah, photo missing, but we are in, there is a project in Berlin, which is called the Komodo. And here the 5 of the big parcel companies are actually coming to one point with trucks. They put parcels into shipping containers, and then cargo bikes come and pick the parcels up. And our customers, we have 3 out of the 5 big customers here, they all want to switch to a containerized process, and we hope that will happen this year. And in Bergen, Norway, we got our first Norwegian customer, which we thought this won't work because I had never been in Bergen, and just a name, yeah, it means mountains, or yeah, the mountain. And so we thought this will be tough for the cargo bike, but actually the city center of Bergen is more or less perfectly flat, just high mountains around, and they don't have any bike infrastructure. So we saw, oh, maybe not that good, but actually week 1 productivity got up by 40%, replacing the van, because it's a lot easier to access shops and so on with a cargo bike than a van. And this was also a lot of attention in Norwegian television. And one thing that also happens when you switch from a van to a cargo bike is that you switch from actually a vehicle to a face. You have faces moving around the city rather than, you know, glass and steel. And for a guy like this, who really loves talking to people, he really loved this change, because he liked to talk to people he delivered to, and now he can talk to people all the time because he's not enclosed in a vehicle. Yeah.
Was he driving a van?
He was driving a van earlier,
okay.
and he loved this. Yeah, and he's actually really a car guy also. Has BMWs. So, but he loves this because he's really a social guy, and you do get a lot of attention. Oslo, Norway. It's a lot happening in Norway. Actually, it's the country in the Nordics where we have the best traction. We would have guessed it would be Denmark, but no, it's actually Norway. Maybe some kind of oil guilt, I don't know, or just a lot of money, because we have expensive bikes. They also have a lot of Teslas there. We don't really know, but we have a lot of demand in Norway. And here we actually have city hubs going on. And this is something I wanted to point out, that a city hub, just like if we go back to this, these city hubs here. You saw on one of the photos that DHL Express are setting up their own city hubs. And yes, you can do that, but it's only a few. It's only the biggest parcel companies that actually can afford to set their own city hubs. So if we want this to go big scale and to really reach the full potential to replace 20% of all the vans, then we believe that the city needs to be involved in actually somehow supporting city hubs, make it possible to do this handover of the goods, to supply a physical place where you actually hand over the goods. So we try to talk to a lot of cities. And if we take Gothenburg as an example, we don't have a proper city hub. You can compare this to a container port for shipping containers. I mean, if you didn't have a container port, it wouldn't work with handling containers for shipping. You need that third-party operator operating a port, and the same goes for if you want to be able to switch to small vehicles with these containers. Or even if you don't do containers, if you do it the old traditional way of consolidating goods. You need to be able to do that in somewhere, and we think it would help a lot if cities would actually offer some place for commercial operators to just use it just as a container port. And what's happening in Gothenburg right now, we heard a little bit about the Novolog project here and the Nordstan shopping center. We are also now involved in a connected project, which is we hope will happen. We haven't the funding hasn't been approved yet, but it's called Smooth, and we have Volvo Trucks involved and a couple of local carriers and so on. And I just got some news yesterday that one of our customers actually want to start using our bikes here in Gothenburg, and they need a city hub to do the handover of the containers, so that it might be that this would actually happen in Nordstan quite soon. So Nordstan could be the city hub for it. The location is great. You have the possibility to drive in there with trucks underground, so could actually be a really good spot. And we're also, and obviously, as you saw, we have activities going on in other cities. So Oslo, one hot city, Berlin, as you saw, but now also in several other cities. So Hanover, we have been talking to for quite some time. But if they just find some time, maybe things will start happening there as well. I think I'm actually happy there. So my main message is that if a city somehow makes a city hub available to do the handover of goods from a big vehicle to a small, and from the small vehicle to a big, for example, with for the refuse. This would really enable the use of specialized last mile delivery vehicles for a lot of actors, not just the big ones. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Johan. Then we are open for questions. Then I will start up with one question myself. Listening into both these presentations, I got the impression that this is a process in happening not only or maybe even not at all based on the environmental issues and so on, using e-mobility, rather from a business perspective. That the business models are more effective, and it's a profitable way of distributing goods using this kind of vehicles with e-mobility as a common enabler. Is that correct, or what's your opinion?
Yeah, I think if our solution hadn't been more productive, I don't think we would see the scale up. These big companies, they do have their climate targets, but they have two ways to go. Either they just go with electrified vehicles, or they do a bigger change, actually using more energy efficient, more resource efficient solutions. So and that was actually the last image I was supposed to show, but I see that the image is broken. I should have checked that before. But we have had some funding from the Swedish Energy Agency, and comparing a small electric van to our solution, and doing the exact same deliveries, our solution only used 6% of the electricity needed that the electric van. So that's a factor of 15 in difference. And as we don't have 100% clean energy in the European energy mix yet, energy efficiency is a hot topic. So if you can do the same transport work only using 6% of the electricity, this should actually be an important reason why you would use a ultra efficient delivery vehicle if possible. But this is something that we still have to argue for. Most people around Europe, and especially in Sweden, think that as long as you electrify something, then the problem solved. But we don't really agree. We see that there's a lot of energy and resource going in producing the vehicles, and it will be decades until the energy mix in Europe is 100% renewable. So until then we need to use as little energy as possible, and with our solution you can use just a fraction of the energy doing the same transport work. But I'd say it's to come back to your question, is mainly driven by that it's actually cheaper to deliver with a small vehicle. It's more productive, and the cost of the vehicle itself is less than a bigger vehicle.
Using this concept of city hubs and the kind of vehicles you're talking about, Johan, and talking about last mile distribution of goods, how long is actually the last mile? What ranges are we talking about?
Well, the last mile can even be the last 50 steps. It's not. There's no measure.
No, but sort of the maximum distance for this last mile. When does it stop to being efficient?
For us, for cargo bikes, with our type, I mean, there are many different types of last mile delivery vehicles, but for our type, the 25 km/h vehicle, the radius, operating radius, that is financially viable is maybe 3 to 5 kilometers.
Okay.
So if you have a city hub and put containers there, it will be financially viable to distribute in an area the radius of up to 5 to 6 kilometers, which is pretty big. I mean, if you put that in, if you put a circle like that over Gothenburg, you will cover most of the central area.
Any other questions?
Yeah, here's Alex from Rostock.
Oh, speak up, please.
Yeah.
Now we hear you. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I have two questions to the first presentation. There was a slide titled like smart delivery systems or so. And there was a lower left picture, and with a little weird vehicle. Is it a kind of tug towing the?
No, I think it was a cargo bike. It would have been.
Yeah. It's you can stand in this vehicle, upright or so.
Oh, does he mean so?
Which vehicle was it, Jan?
The slide was titled "Smart Deliveries."
Oh no, I think it was just a photo of a cargo bike. It wasn't a standing up bike.
Ah, standing up bike. Yeah.
No,
Yes.
no, just a regular cargo bike.
Look a little bit like disabled. Yeah. The sling or so. Okay, and this this vehicle can tow this carriage.
I can maybe. This is actually actually the cargo bike. Actually, my very old Danish Nihola cargo bike, which I actually used to get here to this webinar.
Looks very interesting.
I mean, this is early days, and something. It's just a regular cargo bike, and it's towing a very big trailer. This is a concept that we have left, mainly because it's too wide. This is like 1.2 meter wide, and you can't really ride on bike paths with it. So today, Pling, which is the local operator here, are only using the. The vehicle you see just to the right here, which is only then 86 centimeters wide, and there's also a semi-trailer version of it, as you maybe saw on the photos, which can take a similar kind of volume that you see in this trailer, but at a much less width.
These vehicles operate like pedelecs. You have to treat in the pedals.
It's a
The second question is about this novel lock system, what you presented. And my question is, what are the legal problems regarding liability and responsibility? For instance, if you have some damages to the cargo and so on.
Yeah, all that is going to be looked at during the pilot. So of course it's a very interesting, and it's very important to not forget the liability. And there's a lot of hauliers that won't hand over their goods for consolidation.
I think this is a problem because
the
contract between the sender and the deliverer is you have the service of delivering the product to the address, to the final address. And if you split it into two parts in this terminal or in this hub, you have to make some legal changes. This could be solved, but it must be considered.
Yes, of course, and that is being considered during the pilot phase. So we will have all those results hopefully after the summer.
No, but in the summary, it's a very good concept. Some of our professors here in Rostock also presented such a kind of concept. Possibly it's maybe similar to this. Thank you. Congratulations for that project.
Thank you.
Okay, word is free. Any other comments or questions? Nothing? Okay, then I think we pretty much can call it a day from Gothenburg on this webinar on city logistics with e-mobility as a common enabler. We've been listening to Michel Goldry and Johan Erlandsson with huge experiences from this kind of both thinking and also systems that actually been proven to work as well. And you will be able to find contact information for both Michel and Johan on the web page, the open web page for the BSR-electric project. And also feel free to contact me for further guidance as well. I hope you have had an interesting session with us, listening into the experiences from Gothenburg and also other cities in Europe, of course, then. And thank you very much. See you.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.